Unicorns don't start flying around shooting out car deals.
You sure?
And so 100%.
You say it's a game changer, but does it sell cars? Does it sell cars?
If your dealership's social strategy for the future is keep posting inventory and hope for the best, today's episode might be a wake-up call. Welcome back to But Does It Sell Cars? The podcast where we cut through the marketing noise and talk about what actually helps dealers sell cars and protect profit. I'm your host, Sean Rains, and today we're looking ahead, not 5 years out, not pie in the sky, but where social media is actually heading for dealers in 2026. What channels matter, what doesn't, and how dealers should be thinking about organic and paid social without wasting money. Joining me, as always, my partner in truth-telling, John McAdams, SVP at Social Dealer and Team Velocity. Good to see you, my man.
Sean, man, always a pleasure to be here with you. You know, this is a massive topic for all dealers. And, you know, going into this year, you know, I feel this is a year we have to put the rubber to the road and win it. But, you know, there's a lot of dealers, you know, that are really about ready to fall behind. And if they don't adjust how they think about social and how it can help them sell and service more cars profitably, you know, they'll be talking to us in June or July and it's too late. We need to start that process now.
That's important distinction right there. Well, let's set the table. Like, why do you think like now this is the moment dealers need to rethink social as they look into 2026?
You know, a lot has changed and with all the changes, it's hard when you're running stores to keep up with it. It really is, right? You know, Andromeda and Meta and what does that mean to me and all the other changes on all the other platforms, including Google. You know, how do I stay ahead of it? It's not simply about, hey, let's post some inventory. Maybe let's boost it and we're good. Let's check a box. Social platforms are smarter. The people and the shoppers are smarter, and the attention of those shoppers is even harder to earn today more than ever. You know, so in 2026, social won't be an option or an experiment for many, many dealers, right? And it shouldn't be for you. It'll either be a real part of your social strategy, your sales engine, or it'll be a wasted line item, which we'll see on the financial statement later on. Dealers who don't evolve are going to feel it in the lead quality and gross.
Gotcha. So listen, I think that a lot of dealers lump organic and paid into one big social strategy, like all together. But I know that you would categorize that as a mistake, but why?
Let me put it to you this way, Sean. God forbid somebody you knew had a health scare and you needed a heart doctor, or God forbid somebody needed a brain doctor. You wouldn't go to a heart doctor for a brain issue, and you wouldn't go to a brain issue or a heart doctor for the vice versa, right? You would make sure you go to a specialist that handles that area because they serve totally different jobs, right? And the same applies for organic and or paid social. So let me set the stage. Organic builds trust, familiarity, and credibility. That's what it's designed to do. Paid creates the reach, the demand, and the action. So they both work in synergy and harmoniously together. If you only run paid ads without the organic, people may have a lack of trust with you. If you only post organically without any paid, no one sees it, which means you can't sell and service any more cars. So if you want to win in 2026, you intentionally, and I'll use the word intentionally throughout this podcast today, you have to do both. You can't just do one, check a box, and expect to sell more cars. You're going to have to do both to get the results and the KPIs that you're looking for.
Yeah, I think that's important to remind dealers that you got to be intentional. You got to be proactive on this stuff. So when a dealer says, yeah, we do organic, what should that really mean?
Yeah. You know, I could probably start with what it shouldn't mean.
Sure.
Right. So here's a quick test. go to your own social channel of choice and scroll through your, lack of a better word, your own news feed, right? And if I'm a car dealer and I'm on Meta, for example, Facebook, and my news feed is I sell cars, I sell cars, I sell cars, I deliver cars, I deliver more cars, I got a great review, and I also service cars. And oh, by the way, happy holiday. That is not doing social. That is you just trying to push to your community that you sell and service cars and you deliver cars. That's how we were told to do this about 15 years ago. Newsflash, that's not how we were supposed to be doing it for the past 10 years, but some of us haven't changed. We have to look human. We have to look like real people that have real moments, and we have to have real answers to the questions that the customers are asking. Not perfectly polished. They don't need to be perfectly polished and everything has to be well thought over, but proof that you're a real dealership worth doing business with. That's got to be the key. So again, make sure you're really testing your own waters and look at your own pages and see, are you passing that litmus test or are you not? Remember, organically is about showing up consistently. It's not about, I'll do a post today, I'll do another post next week, and I'll do a post a week after that. If our goal is to do 4 posts a month, that's a failure point. That's not how the algorithms are going to learn. That's not how the community is going to interact with you. So show up consistently. So when somebody does see your ad, they already trust you from all the organic branding that you've done.
Yeah, that's huge. That is so huge. Dealers, listen, lean in on that one, because that's one of the things that many of them have not realized. It probably led astray. So it's not your fault, dealers. Oftentimes it's, by the way, a lot of people, not social dealer, but a lot of people that are wanting to try to sell social stuff. Oftentimes it's just because it becomes a low-hanging fruit additional service to something that they already do. Maybe they're a website provider or some other thing like that. So it's really important when you're listening to people like John drop awesome insights like this. It might sound like something you've heard before, but for a lot of dealers, I think it's like, I haven't thought about what organic really is doing and what its job is in correlation to where we pay ourselves into that place where the action happens and the lead capture and all of that. Like these two things really need to be in play together for you to get maximum results. And there is an absolute, you said it, a harmonious relationship that happens between the two, and they don't quite work as well if they're by themselves, right?
No. And and remember one other thing, Sean, I hear a lot, we do social, or I've got somebody who does social. And the reason they did social, because they probably said, hey boss, listen, I know Instagram, so let me do it. That's one way to do it, right? Or I just graduated college, or I just graduated high school. They're a younger generation. You think they know all about social, and they're going to go run your business's social channels. I'm not saying it's a bad idea. I'm just saying to inspect what you expect, right? So, and what I mean by that. So, recently I had a dealer say, hey, we're going to have somebody take it over internally. They love Instagram. I said, that's cool. That's awesome. If you can save the money and do it, let's do it. I said, does she have a Facebook strategy? Does she have a Snapchat strategy? Does she have a TikTok strategy? Does she have a does she have all these strategies? Well, no, she's just going to do Instagram because she loves Instagram. And I reminded him, I said, this is a business. This is not our personal pages where we used to post things like what we ate in restaurants we went to. This is a business, and we need to make sure all the channels are represented, but following the cadence that those channels require for optimal results. Each one of them is different. They require different things, right? And different actions. So listen, if you're going to have somebody who's going to raise their hand at the store and say, listen, boss, I've got it, I'm fine with it, but inspect what you expect and set the path forward. All the channels must be included. We're not going to strip some out because you don't like them. All the channels organically needs to be included.
That's a great share. If I had $1 for every, not just dealerships, but even companies and individual people in the automotive industry that will take one post, and put it, that exact same post, same copy, same graphic in every single social media channel. Like I can see it on their LinkedIn, I see it on their Facebook page, I see it on their Instagram. Now I get it in the Meta environment. If you post something on Instagram, you can also push it over to your personal Facebook page. Okay,
Sure.
great. But across ones that are not in the same, not same ownership. So Meta to LinkedIn or to Google or, YouTube, TikTok, all these places. And I just oh man, what they need to talk to you guys. They need some strategy.
Yeah.
They
Well,
definitely
I
do.
read your article the other day about LinkedIn posts, and I believe the topic was, yeah, Sean, I tried LinkedIn, it didn't work. And in reality, I hear that a lot from clients who are thinking about coming on board, right? They know there's something better. They may have tried it in the past, but trying it in the past, like your post or your article says, does not mean doing three LinkedIn posts over a 3-week period, saying it didn't work and moving on, right? That is not what this is about, right? A lot of those winning moments are going to happen later, we'll call it 30, 45, 60, 90 days later. Yeah. Right. So give it the right, if I look at Deadliest Catch, right, where they're dropping crab pots into the Bering Sea, they drop them and they wait. And then they swing back around another week or two later and they pick those things up, or however long it takes to get the crabs. The same principle needs to apply here. Drop the posts in, let them sink to the bottom and ferment, and you'll gain those rewards later on when you go to pick them back up.
Mm-hmm. It's so true. There's a part of this in social marketing that is a long-term play, right? Everybody wants to sprint, right? Immediately to leads. Is it possible that the social channels could outperform, just going and buying them from a third-party lead provider? No, but could they return better quality? Could they close at a higher rate? Could you actually harvest ones that are better? But it requires a different strategy. You can't just buy your way into glory the way that a lot of people want to be able to do it. You have to have people that know what they're doing to basically help you not just set the strategy, but execute it. And that's, you guys obviously are top of the heap in that. Okay, so I want to take you someplace where I think most dealers, like maybe, I could say some, but I think a lot of dealers might get uncomfortable because maybe they themselves don't spend time there, or they know it's definitely a different Wild West type of environment. But I'm talking about platforms like X or Reddit. Yeah. Not exactly popular in automotive. You and I have had side conversations outside of the podcast about these platforms. You've taught me a lot. I've learned about that. I want you to tell the audience, why should dealers even pay attention to those types of platforms?
There's a line that I think resonates inside of the automotive industry that we sometimes forget, but we're all part of. And it's because attention shifts before the comfort does. And that's literally what is going to happen and is happening today. It happened when Google got here. It happened when Facebook showed up. It happened with Instagram. It happened with TikTok. It happened with Snapchat. And yes, it's happening with channels like X, formerly known as Twitter, and Reddit, right? Reddit, for example, is a full-on, high-intent conversation that's going to happen about car buying, ownership, and dealership experience. So what you're telling me, John, is that folks, millions and millions and millions of people are online right now on Reddit, in subreddits, asking questions about the brands that I sell and asking important information about the vehicle because they don't have it from either a dealership yet, but they're looking to decide based on their peers and what results in there as to whether they should buy the brand, whether they should go to that dealer or not. I'm telling you, yes, it's happening all day long and without you being there. It's happening all day long without you showing up as an advertisement in those subreddits either. So imagine going to a bar and everybody's talking about buying a car and you're there and you sell cars and you don't tell that to anybody. There's a good chance you won't sell any cars. I can guarantee you that. Right. But if you were to walk up and have a conversation with some folks at the bar about your ability to help them buy and solve their transportation needs, I guarantee you're going to sell some cars, right? That's what Reddit's about right now online with millions and millions and millions of people. You could also post your inventory there, the same as X. Your inventory can post there. Your sales offers can post there. So kind of keep that in mind. Now, what's the differentiator between Reddit and X? X is real time, opinion driven, and great for your brand and your authority. And right, so that's what X is all about. Right. And there's probably more folks right now on X than you would probably even realize. people are not just one social channel, right? Like for me personally, I'm on Instagram, I'm a little bit on Facebook, I'm certainly on LinkedIn, and absolutely on X, right? I also, by the way, I am now a Reddit junkie. I am on Reddit more probably than most of my other social channels, right? The key to keep in mind is some of these are not mass lead gen platforms. And I'll say it again. Some of them are not mass lead gen platforms, right? The ones that do and do a great job at it, that's awesome. The ones that don't, let's not try to change them. Like Sean said before, listen, everybody's sprinting to get to the lead. I'd be sprinting to get to the share of voice and the branding and the highest quality lead. That's what I'd be sprinting for. And what influences the highest quality lead? These platforms influence that, and they influence the selling of the cars, but only when you use it correctly. So, I would say this about X and Reddit and Discord and some of these other channels that are out there. Just because some folks or dealers in the automotive industry are not using them doesn't mean you shouldn't. And there's plenty that are, but it's not the main voice. The main voice has always been Google AdWords and Facebook ads and Instagram, TikTok to a degree. Don't leave these folks out, because the results I'm seeing on some of these channels are absolutely astronomical, because it's the Wild West. Wild West you get to own, right? If you want to own it before it becomes expensive, now's the time to own it.
Yeah, I mean, in our industry, specifically on the paid advertising in the digital era, people have been using this kind of phrase of fish where the fish are for a long time, being where's a place to fish? Google, right? As soon as they added an advertising platform back in the fall of 2000, it was a new body of water, a very interesting one and a very powerful one. And then Facebook comes along, and then they build an advertising platform, new body of water. Is there some crossover? Certainly there's crossover in places, but there's also a unique identity found in all these platforms, very much on X, formerly Twitter, and Reddit. And they are Wild West. And, what you have to recognize isn't so much, but is that really the place where I want, to be? Is there opportunity for you to be there based on audience size? Because most people are not going to be like, not that I would mind, but most people are not going to tell you, well, what do you search for? And what do you do when you're on X and on Reddit? Just like the old days of going to forums, like if you're a truck enthusiast, you being the truck enthusiast that you've been for all these years, whether you're in a 250 or a 350, or I don't even know if you've ever had an F-150, me being a Tundra guy, there's some really great things, and you just talked about it. There are some great conversations and strings you can get involved in that help you, like, that answers all my questions, or you did this, or I never see dealers in those conversations, but I see a whole lot of guys that spend a lot of money on their Tundras talking about all these different things and questions. But it's not just vehicle specific. It's how was your car buying experience? Like, there are so many places for that to happen. So being in the place where people are oftentimes is more than half of the battle of trying to win, getting some strategic wins in marketing. That's what every single company is always trying to do as they try to get in touch with people who are our audience for this podcast, which are dealers. Everyone wants to know, where do we get the dealers' attention? Well, the dealers are just like all of us. Some of them probably prefer Instagram doom scrolling versus something else, but they're in the same places, they're doing the same things. And when you're a dealer thinking about this, well, now the sea gets 1,000,000 times bigger, right? Because there's only 18,000-ish dealers to market to. There's millions, 350 million people to market to in the United States from a dealership perspective. And so that's why when you say that, hey, don't think that this is necessarily the whole like lead type of platform. Some of these are actually important to be working with from an influence perspective. And why not be on the bleeding edge of something that you could strategically, learn what you need to do to actually put it together in a way that you'll be in front of other people, because it's probably not a crowded place for dealers. And why not get in where the getting's good?
And don't leave off all departments of your store, right? So, by the way, no disparaging remarks against light duty pickup truck owners. I'm a heavy duty, super duty guy, right? So I drive a 2024 Ram 2500, right? And I decided it was time for me to do some upfit. You know, it's 3 months old. It's time for John to do an upfit or sell it. That's how it works in my land. So I roll to my store, my dealer, right, who I know personally, and I roll in. I talk to the service director, and he goes, "Oh, we don't do any of that here." I was like, "Okay." So I started looking around, right, and all the Google searches brought me to places I didn't know them, I didn't trust them, right. So I went to Reddit and I started looking at Reddit to see, what did people do when they had my exact vehicle and they wanted to put, a leveling kit in, a front sway bar, new shocks and exhaust, right? Like, what did they put in the Thurin? Did they put in the Carly? Did they put the Bilsteins in? Like, I didn't. I'm like, what are we doing? So Reddit helped me make my decision. Right. And then I asked the question, I live in Southwest Virginia. Can anybody recommend a reputable place to go get it done? And, people came out of the woodwork, gave me, people's names and who to contact and shops. And I contacted one. They did a great job, got a quote, got it done, got in, got out. There goes, $7,000 of my hard-earned money to have my truck look, ready to rock and roll. I roll in a week and a half after I get it done to my local dealership. And I had to go see the GM. And I said, "Hey, you want to go see what I did to my truck?" He goes, "Yeah." We went outside. He goes, "Well, why didn't you bring it here?" I said, "I tried. Your service director told me you didn't do anything like that here." He goes, "Are you crazy? We do all that." I said, "By the way, if you were in Reddit and you're running some ads there and saying that you upfit vehicles for, a 2500, I probably would have made a second call back to your store and said, 'Hey, it sounds like you do this.'" Mm-hmm. So those are the conversations that are happening real time. That's me, real time in the car business for 30 years. I probably know enough people. I could do the lift myself if I was 20 years younger, but I'm older, right? But if they were there, if they were having conversations in those channels with me, they probably would have earned my business, right? Yep. I'm sure, it wasn't $7,500, right? But at the end of the day, they would have made a nice chunk of change, and they would have had me for life. Because the next 2,500, by the way, I'm looking at a dually now. My next dually that I would get from them I'd say, "Hey, before I take delivery, go take care of these pieces for me," right? Mm-hmm. That's how powerful social media is to dealers. You need to be in the conversations if you're going to win the moment.
Yeah. I had an almost identical experience with my current Tundra where but I told the dealership what I was doing to it. Like I said, this won't be stock for very long. Mm-hmm. And they had nothing for me. They had well, what are you doing? Tires, wheels? Yep. Lift kit? Yep. I mean, like nothing. Yeah. And it's funny because I did actually find a couple of things that confirmed brands of lifts and things that I was going to buy. Correct. Where Reddit. So here's something I think we definitely need to interject here. Dealers are going to hear this like X and Reddit. And they're going to like, what? Right. They're going to heads are going to blow off their shoulders. They're going to be like, great, sure. Another place for us to lose money. And I think you and we've been around the industry long enough that we can say to the dealers, all right, cool it. Like, we totally get that, where you'd be like, okay. So I know you have some things because I've heard you as we've talked about it, but of like, this is the way to go about it. So how should a dealer explore these kind of channels that they might be thinking, what, without just lighting a pile of cash on fire?
Yeah. That is probably one of the most ultimate questions, we've talked about on these podcasts, right? For anybody who knows me long enough, knows me well enough that I don't like cash on fire. Like, I would rather be your friend, Mr. or Mrs. Dealer, than to take your money and light it on fire. By the way, a lot of people will tell you that. I'm telling you, that is not me. Check anybody who knows me out. I only run on results. And if I light your money on fire, you're not going to be here very long. By the way, Social Dealer only has 30-day agreements. So if I get it wrong, you're down the road, rightfully so, because you don't want to be married to me and I don't want to be married to you. So how do you do it the right way? Start small, right? With or without us at Social Dealer, but start small and be very surgical and strategic. right? Don't take a wide approach to this, and cut a wide path. Be very strategic. Choose your channel. Choose what you're looking to do. Choose sales or service. Do I want leads or do I not want leads? Do I want to drive traffic? If I want to drive traffic, where does it go on my website? How can I quantify the traffic that went to my website as something that actually came in and bought a car, or create another RO for me, right? So decide the channel, be very surgical, decide the market. What do I mean by that? I get questions all the time from dealers. John, my buddy who owns the stores, 10 miles away, same brand. We play golf on Saturdays. I want to get into his market. Interesting conversation to have on the golf course, but I get it, right? Because I used to be that guy. So how do we do that? Pick a market that you're not going to get hurt in, right? Choose a battleground zip code, either your own PMA or a zip code between you and that other dealer. But don't just turn the gun and say, I'm going to focus all my money on that dealer over there and win his market. That's not going to work. Have a clear message. Kind of like what you said before, Sean, have a very clear message as to what you're trying to get out to the public and one clear goal. Don't try to do this for everything at the same time. That's a recipe for disaster. Have one market, one message, one clear goal, right? So, and it's not about replacing Google. It's not about replacing Facebook. It's not about replacing current channels unless they're not performing. And if they're not performing, they should be moved out of your marketing mix. It's about complementing the channels together with the single goal in mind, which is to help you sell and service more cars and make sure the community and those surrounding PMA or battleground zip codes also know that you sell and service more cars. Dealers I know who win, without exception, are curious. But on top of that, they're very disciplined, right? So I would say if you're going to dip your toe in the water because you're curious, but be very, very disciplined in a very surgical way. Look at those results and say to yourself, did it produce the results and the ROI I'm looking for? And if it did, how do I slowly expand that? Maybe that's budget, maybe that's market, maybe that's PMA, but have a discussion before you just throw money at it. I had a dealer about 3 weeks ago. They were throwing money at everything, Sean. And about halfway through the conversation, I stopped them. I said, I can appreciate what you're trying to do. I really can, Mr. Dealer, because I used to be one. Money and throwing money at this is not going to solve this problem. And he kind of took a step back, like, who are you to tell me that? And listen, I'll take your money and spend it. As a friend, I am telling you, throwing money at this problem is not going to solve it, because I am going to throw more leads on top of an already burning fire in your BDC. And that's not going to help you. You're going to turn back to me and say it didn't work. And I'm going to turn to you and say I sent you 300 leads, of which maybe half of them ever made a contact with because your BDC glanced over them. So let's fix the problem, the underlying problem, and then put some more fire on that, or wood on that fire to get you the results you're looking for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. That's solid advice right there. Okay, so I'm not really changing any gears, but a little bit of a shift into something that I still see this all the time when I'm talking with dealers, but it's almost as if this is the way we've trained them. Like dealers measuring social success by what? Likes, comments, and followers. I don't think that's right. Correct me if I'm wrong, but what are dealers getting wrong when it comes to measuring social ROI?
I'm going to refer to them as vanity metrics. And I hope everybody adopts the term vanity metrics. In the car business, we all have big egos. I certainly did when I was running my stores, right? I probably do. If you ever ask my wife, she probably says I still do today, right? Because I'm ultra competitive. I am ultra competitive, and I do nothing but win, right? So what used to make me happy is, oh my gosh, I did this post and I had, 55 people thumbs up me and 27 people heart it. And oh my gosh, these reactions are great. And I'm going to be a great dealer and I'm going to sell a lot of cars, because I was taught that early on in the car business, right? In reality, after lots of deep diving into the data, I realized that none of that is true. So that's not engagement according to the algorithms at any social platform. Just so you know, Facebook does not look at how many people thumbs up or liked or hearted, right? Any of your posts. There's reporting. We look at it, but it's a vanity metric. I can't tell you how many thumbs up it requires before you actually get somebody who wants to come in and buy a car, because it doesn't exist. So let's not chase the vanity metrics. What they are looking for is engagement. They're not looking for vanity metrics. Engagement to them would be shares and comments. Did I find enough value in this social post to actually want to share it with my friends and family that are in part of my ecosystem, right? So that they could read it and they could share it and go viral, right? Did I leave a comment, and did you respond back to me at the dealership level? Hey, you know what? That's a great ASPCA event that you have going on Saturday. Are you going to have any German Shepherd puppies there? And then you go look at it and there's no response from the dealer. There's like just none, right? So they got happy on the comment, but the thing that mattered the most was you responding. Imagine, once again, now we're not at the bar, Sean. Now we're at the food store. I'm at the food store. I've got my shopping cart. And I've got my dealership, vest on. And they say, "Hey, aren't you the guy from that dealership?" I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "Hey, you're going to have an ASPCA event here, on Saturday, right?" I go, "Yep." And she says, "Do you have any German Shepherds?" And I go, "Have a good day." And I leave. Let's not do that. Let's respond. Let's be part of the community, right? So keep in mind that chasing vanity metrics, because those are the ones that usually have a higher number and people think are great. The real question that I'll ask is, did this help someone to choose the dealership that you run or you manage or that you own? And social should be measured by the influence, not so much just the thumbs up and the likes, because they don't really count, right? But how much lift are we getting out of that? How many conversations are we starting? How many are we also finishing and helping them out with to get to an appointment? Because they're out there. And yes, I understand it takes work. But when I ran my stores, everything I did took work. There's nothing that didn't take work. This is just another chapter in that book. Maybe it's social versus, some of the events we did, right? But it is out there today. So the dealers who win will stop asking, did I just get engagement? And they're going to start asking, did I move someone closer to buying a vehicle or servicing with me than I was yesterday? That's the question we need to start asking ourselves. Are we doing that, or are we just chasing vanity metrics?
I like that. This next one, I think it's a big one. I've actually been recently talking about it on my personal LinkedIn. Companies, in this case, dealers are the example. They will try something. They'll try social for 30 days. They don't see magic. Unicorns don't start flying around shooting out car deals.
You sure?
And so 100%. And so they quit, right? Like, we tried this social thing. We gave it 30 days because Social Dealer lets us walk after, if we don't like it, we get to go. We're not held into some long term. But we didn't see magic in the 30-day trial. And so we quit. In your mind, what's a realistic timeline for social to start? I guess, and you could define paying off in different ways, but for you, what's a realistic timeline for social to become meaningful and also provide some of these payoffs for a dealer?
Yeah. Let's break it out into two areas, right? Paid social, within 30 days, right? These are paid ads going to people who are in market to buy your vehicle, right? We can track that, in the first 30 days, right? So when you look at paid, I know some folks will say, "We'll give it 90 days and we'll readjust then." Now, in 30 days, we better have some results and figure out what we're going to change to make them better for next month, right? So when it comes to paid social media, don't buy the 90-day rule. That's just 90 days of revenue you're going to have to put out, or expense you're going to have to put out. And if it doesn't work, you're out 90 days. Paid, 30 days. Let's rock and roll. Organic. Here's how I want you to think about organic. A long, long time ago in a land far, far away, there's a thing called search engine optimization. We always called that the long-term play. While the long-term play was getting its feet around itself so that you didn't have to pay Google to show up, you should do paid ads. So you're saying, John, the strategy was to do paid ads to get the results right away, but make sure you're employing a solid SEO strategy and a land far away in a time long ago to get my organic to show up so I didn't have to pay. It's exactly what I'm saying. Those exact things are now and have been on the social media forefront for the longest time. So again, if you don't want to do organic, you don't have to. Just remember to show up in those channels where all these people are. You're going to have to keep paying Facebook and, TikTok and Snapchat and Pinterest and Reddit and X and Discord, right? You want to show up right now, right away, we pay the freight. That's how the car business works. My suggestion and strong recommendation is when it comes to organic, that you look at this as a longer term play to reduce those paid expenses over time. That's probably 60 to 90 days, right? To start to see that organic start to take hold and gain that traction. So think of it this way. If we're going to measure it by 30 days and only 30 days and there's no longer term strategy, paid's the way to go. But you're just going to keep paying, right? Just going to keep paying. My recommendation is to over time slow that dependency down on paid social media advertising by bringing up the organic component so that this becomes a driver of force back to your store. And this becomes almost a secondary position. Key is don't quit too early. Basically, don't walk out right before it starts working. If you said I went organic and the team that was doing it, I gave them 30 to 45 days and I didn't say it, you left the party too soon. You left before the real band came on and the thing started getting cranked up. And then the next day when you went to the NADA convention, people were like, did you see that band? That party was off the hook. And you're like, well, I left at 8:30 and the really thing kicked off at 9:30. That's when it started getting good. Same thing with organic. Don't leave too soon.
Yep. I love that analogy. That's a great one because it's true. I've probably done that myself at NADA. I'm too tired. Like, this kind of sucks. It feels like I'm having a cocktail in a library with people that just want to sell me stuff. So
yeah,
I'm going to bounce. And then they're like, man, the Black Crows came on 7 minutes after you were gone in your Uber, dude, or whatever.
That's why I never leave Dino's early. Never leave Dino's early. Always stay to the end at Dino's.
That's right. I have to, just to make sure there's nobody who's been left behind. And that's happened a few times. Totally different podcast on that one, old Johnny Mac. This next one, though, this one that I want to ask you about, this one actually, I don't know, maybe this could cause fights in dealerships. Who should actually own social marketing? Is it a general manager? Is it an agency? Is it the 22-year-old who just loves TikTok? Like, what say you?
Yeah, I've been in the middle of many of these conversations / differences of opinions / arguments, right? Everybody's passionate in this industry, and that's probably what I love most about it. But what I've learned along the way is it's not so much about ownership, but it's also really more about alignment, right? Listen, you own your social channels, so you own them. The question is, how are you going to align the right members in the platoon that you're willing to go to battle with to give you the success that you want, right? So line up the right players. You're the owner no matter what. Align the right players on the team. And listen, maybe the 22-year-old person who loves TikTok is on the team, but my recommendation is they are not the final word, right? They are an influence and they're a voice, but there's so much more to it than just that. Your marketing should drive the strategy. Leadership should support it. And the execution needs to be consistent. Those three things together are the golden apple, the golden piece that we all should be striving to. The biggest mistake I see is letting social live in a vacuum. Don't let that happen, right? This is a very, very, very important part of your business. You wouldn't let a 22-year-old person who knows how to change oil only be your service director. That would never happen. Maybe after 5 or 10 years of showing consistent work and leadership, you make them a manager and then to a director. But just because I can turn a wrench and change oil doesn't make me a service director. Same thing applies in social, right? So the key is to align. Think of the word alignment. Align it with sales. Align it with your BDC or internet department. Align it with your leadership team at the dealership. That's when this all starts to sell cars.
That's a exclamation point. So you've seen this. Sales teams, they start rolling their eyes at the social content. Like, everybody's got an opinion, which is fine. Yep. Although some of them are horrible. Yep. It's America.
Mm-hmm.
How do you, though? I mean, because for people that don't know, we'll just restate. Your experience is, you're a double-edged sword. Lots of retail experience, restoring nearly dead dealerships into top-performing stores.
Mm-hmm.
You also have all of this experience on the service provider side. So when you think about salespeople rolling their eyes at social content, how do you get them to actually buy into social?
That's honestly a great question. My best answer is going to be this. You need to find somebody at the store, young or old, male or female, doesn't matter, that actually embraces social today. I have folks that are 60 years old selling cars that do a great job. I've got people that are 18 to 21 years old doing a great job of selling cars using social. If something changed in my world today, Sean, and I had to go back to selling cars, because yes, I did sell cars for a long time, I can tell you what I would do. I would dominate social. I'd build my own brand, and I would have everybody coming to me, and I'd never take another rep off the floor ever again, because that up bus is near dead anyway. Second is I would work the service lane sales hard. I would do those two things, and I guarantee I'll be back to 35, 40 cars a month where I was before when I was selling cars, right? So in order to, get a crowd draws a crowd, right? So show the sales team that it helps them sell cars. If you've got some people on the floor who don't buy into it, don't force them. Don't change it. Don't, if they want to be part of the party, let them be part of the party, right? When the other people are selling 10, 12, 15 cars a month, and they're still sitting at their 5 or 6 or 7 and being happy, well, you have another decision to make at that point, right? When salespeople see customers walk in already knowing their names and referencing a post or the vehicle they want to drive, that whole resistance will disappear, right? When there's a line of people at my desk trying to buy from me, and I have appointments that people were actually showing up for, not the fake ones when we say, hey, how many appointments do we have for Saturday? And they go, hey, boss, I've got 2, I've got 3, I've got 4, I've got 5. And on Saturday, you're sitting there going, well, where's all the people that were guaranteed to come in, right? But there's always somebody at the store that's busy. And that's because they found the secret sauce to really branding themselves as part of your store to drive that traffic in. So it works best when it's not a marketing thing, right? But it's everyone's advantage to really lean into social. But you'll have some naysayers. Again, don't force them to convert and get on the boat, right? The ones that will happily do it will be your best stewards of this. And when they start seeing the crowds of people at their desk, when they start to see that person that was selling 7 cars a month is now selling 15 or 20 or 25 or 30, they're going to ask how they're doing it. And that salesperson is going to either tell them if they want to, which will be social and the things they're doing, or they won't tell them and leave them guessing. But make no mistake about it. If you literally position yourself as a salesperson today or as GSM or sales manager, and you want your team to win this moment, you got to find the ones that really love to do it, not love, but like to do it. And don't force the others into that platform if they don't want to be.
It's a solid recommendation for sure. Totally easy to apply and understand. So that's awesome. I appreciate you sharing it and framing it that way. Okay, just a couple more things here. I know we could make Joe Rogan 3-hour long podcast.
We could do it. Yeah.
No problem. But here's a couple more things I want to ask you before we park this one. What's a social habit that dealers should stop doing right now if they want to be successful in 26?
I was recently up in Pennsylvania, and I was on a strip of highway called Route 22 or Route 78. Apparently, it's known as the billboard capital of the world. I never knew this But I can tell you, there's more billboards than I've ever seen in my entire life. The same thing happens on I-95 between, say, New York and Philadelphia. There's a bunch of billboards there. Then you get to other places. I don't see billboards for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of miles, right? There's probably a reason for this, and why I'm going there is we need to stop treating social like a digital billboard, right? That was 2 weeks ago, Sean. I drove up through there. There probably had to be 50 billboards. I cannot tell you what's on a single one of them. Somebody spent a lot of money to be there. I'm not making fun of billboards, but somebody spent a lot of money for me to drive down that highway to see these billboards, and I can't remember a single one of them. And most of them were car dealers, by the way. The other ones were HVAC companies. I don't know why. And a jeweler, by the way. So stop treating it like a digital billboard. Shoppers don't want ads all the time. You don't want them. I don't want them, right? They want answers. And I want to have the confidence to know that the person I'm going to spend a lot of my money with is there to help me with my transportation needs, aka help me buy a car, or aka help me service my vehicle. If every post is about price or your sales offer or a payment, you're training your people to shop you and not trust you. And when it all comes down to just shopping you, they're really just shopping for a Honda or a Ford or a Chevy or a Nissan or a Toyota. And another ad pops up for $5 less. I might just go there, because at the end of the day, I don't learn anything about you. I just learned about your payments. And for most people, yes, payments important, price of the vehicle is important. I'm with you 100%. But many times, and more often than not today, they really want to feel good about where they're going to buy the car and being treated fairly, right? And if they can see that online before they plunk down their hard-earned money, the chance of you getting that opportunity to sell them a vehicle is going to increase exponentially.
It's good stuff. I love the billboard story too. I don't know if you've ever done the drive between Dallas and New Orleans, but as soon as you get into Louisiana, I've never seen so many. It's not so much the number of billboards, it's the number of billboards that are personal injury lawyers. Like, there's so many. Every time I've made that drive, I always say the same thing. I'm like, what is going on in this state? Like, what is happening here?
Yeah, right? That's funny.
Okay, final question. This is our crystal ball moment, which is for 2026, what will the dealers who win with social in 2026 be doing differently than everyone else?
To start off with, the 3 pillars I would look at for success would be consistent, be intentional, and be patient. I know some of those things don't fit in my car dealer brain sometimes, right? If I was back on retail, but I'm telling you right now, be consistent, be intentional, and certainly be patient. You don't have to chase every platform, but you have to understand the ones that are important to you as a dealer, your brand, and your community. So maybe there's 10 channels. Maybe based on the analysis, we do 3, maybe we do 4, maybe we do 5, maybe we do all 10, but only do the ones that make sense for your demographics and your brand, for sure. The other ones will actually use organic and trust that the paid advertising that they're doing will help to scale that organic. So in the future, the dependency on that ad spend, that expense line on your financial statement, goes down in this particular media for you to use somewhere else. Do some other marketing with it, right? So use organic and paid together harmoniously to get you where you got to go. And probably the biggest one is treat social as a main component of your business strategy, not a side project. A lot of us have treated it as a side project. Listen, at the end of the day, if your social ad spend is 1% of your entire marketing budget, and it doesn't matter to me what it is, 1%, that tells me you don't have a lot of faith and confidence that the 1% is going to help you grow your business. That's more of a checkbox, right? But if you had the most solid strategy and you had a lot of confidence, you had a team that that will use these tools in their toolbox to help you grow the store, something tells me 1% of your budget item line would not be where this lands. So don't treat it as a side project. Treat it as a business strategy.
Love it. Solid home run hitting as always, Johnny Mac. Hey, if you're listening or probably watching this and thinking, I need to rethink our whole approach. That's exactly the kind of conversation you should have with John. And those are free, right? So he's one of the best. If not, maybe he is the best. I don't know everybody in automotive, but I certainly know John very well. And he is, in my mind, the best person that you could have a conversation with about these things. He'll guide you in the wrong direction. No, the right direction every single time. I can't say that about other people. So he's absolutely worth the time. And if that's what you're thinking, man, I learned a lot, but I have more questions, then you don't need to hesitate. Here's the takeaway today, folks. Social media in 2026 isn't about chasing those trends. You heard John say it. It's about being intentional, and you got to be strategic and honest about what actually sells cars. If you're ready actually to talk real world strategy around social media and many other things, John is always easy to find, and he'll be there for you. He's easy to connect with, especially on LinkedIn. I tell people to go there always, probably first and foremost. You can connect with him and everybody else on the Social Dealer team for that matter. You can drop him an email. John, where do you prefer? j.mcadams@socialdealer.com?
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah. Hit me up there. Call me on my cell phone, text me on my cell phone. But yeah, those are the best ways to get a hold of me. And listen, if it's just a chat, listen, I'm more than happy to always talk to fellow dealers. I get a lot of enjoyment out of that.
Yeah. So easy to reach. You can also go to www.socialdealer.com. So reach out, book time, have a real conversation. That's always where these things start. And then you can build a relationship, and you'll find out how trustworthy John is, and it'll make you much more comfortable when you decide to put the program together and let them help you with not just strategy, but the way to execute it in a way that will help you win this year. That's it for today, folks. But remember, after the next game changer pitch you hear, be sure to ask, but does it sell cars? We'll see you next time. Thanks, John.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it.
You say it's a game changer, but does it sell cars? Does it sell cars? You say you have solutions for my problems, but does it sell cars? But does it sell cars? Does it sell cars?